joins us right now of Ohio. Senator, there was confusion on the trade thing, and I'm wondering if it's resolved now. It seems that Peter Navarro is saying that, just because of our frictions and trouble, everyone seems to think and has a high faith that the Chinese are going to make good on their promises. Do you agree with that?
Well, on phase one, I do. And by the way, you can see the numbers. We've actually increased commodity sales to China. They're actually on track to do a little better than they were a few years ago, which is part of what we're looking for from ag country Ohio, because soybean market number one for Ohio is China. But also they're beginning to implement some of the other provisions there that relate to some of the structural changes that Kudlow talked about. Phase two is going to be the tough one, because that's where you get into subsidies and you get into the state-owned enterprises and other issues that have to be resolved for there to be a true level playing field. And that'll be harder for China to do. But look, this phase one deal is in our interest. The president negotiated a good agreement. It's also in China's interest, in my view, to implement this because they like our market and they don't want to see the tariffs go up again. So I think phase one's on track. But Neil, boy, we've got a lot of other problems with China.
Yeah, in fact, John Bolton, I just finished his book, Senator, and one of the things he raises in that is this idea that maybe the president wanted that deal more than the Chinese. Now, he characterizes it as all but begging for them to buy farm products from us, and that it would help in the 2020 campaign. Now, what he leaves out there, that is, Ambassador Bolton, is that was the goal all along, to get them to buy products from that. So that was hardly a Fox alert. But this begging nature of that, and that the Chinese had his number. What did you think of that?
I'm not a speed reader like you are, Neil, so I haven't read the book.
Yeah.
I've got some pretty strong views about this. I know John Bolton. I've known him a long time. I think he's a smart guy. But, boy, if you disagree with your boss that much, particularly if your boss is commander-in-chief, you ought to quit. You ought to resign. And then second, I worked in two White Houses, as you know, for both Bushes. What happens in the Oval Office stays in the Oval Office. That's where you can have a candid communication with your top team. So, I don't know if it's true or not. Bob Lighthizer testified before us last week at a hearing that what the book says with regard to the president's relationship with President Xi, specifically a meeting in Japan that was on the outskirts, I think, of another meeting, that was not accurate. So, I don't know if it's true or not. But what I do know is that it's tough negotiating with China. I've done it. The president negotiated a good phase one. The tougher one's going to be phase two, and it's, I think, equally important.
I don't want to belabor the point. You mentioned the fact that you worked in two different administrations. What always amazes me in this case, Senator, with this administration, maybe just a sign of our divisive times, the tell-all books that have come out, Bolton's just the latest, when the president's still in office. And usually there's some years that go by before you get that sort of stuff. Not all the time, but here, man, oh man, it's constant. What do you make of that?
Yeah, well, publishers are working overtime. The books sell, I guess, to some folks. And look, I don't know. I just think there's a lack of respect for the office when you go into the Oval Office and have a conversation and then report on it, not just to the media, but in this case, to put it in a book and make some money. But look, I think we need to be sure that we have going forward the kind of relationship with China where, we can deal with some of these big problems we have. As you know, I spent a lot of time working on this IP theft issue, and it's real. They come over here, they target promising researchers and research. They do it in a systematic way. Then they take that back to China. Much of this research is paid for by us as taxpayers. So we do have some big problems with China we need to resolve, but we have to have a relationship with them in order to do that.
All right. And by the way, you never did any tell-all books and working for two presidents. I'm sure you
it would have been so boring,
Maybe you just. So let me ask you real quickly. I still have you, sir. Got it. Let me ask you real quickly about you've been concerned and supported, generous unemployment provisions to help people out, but obviously there's a limit to that. These extra unemployment federal benefits end, I believe, the end of next month. You're looking for some sort of an incentive that can get people off of them. What's the latest on that?
Yeah, the $600 a week additional federal benefit makes it so that 60 to 70% of the people on unemployment insurance now are making more on UI than they made in their job. In fact, for the lower 20% of income earners, it's double on average what they could make at their job. That's a disincentive to go back to work. I know a lot of people on UI, I've talked to them. They want to work eventually, and they're going to go back to work, but boy, this is a pretty good deal to not to pass up. So what we ought to do is provide a bonus to say, if you go back to work, you can take some of that with you. And a lot of those people will go back to work. It'll be great for small businesses. It'll be great for taxpayers, both at the state and federal level, because remember, they're getting state UI also. Our goal ought to be, as Republicans and Democrats alike, to get people back to work and do it so in a safe manner.
All right, we'll watch it closely. We'll watch it. Senator, I'm jumping on you brutally. I apologize. This break is coming. Meanwhile, I'm going to talk to your staff if they want to do a tell-all book on you. We'll see how that goes.